with you tonight, and and I'm very blessed and fortunate to have my parents here with me this evening. They're sitting in the back, and I've been on the campaign trail for 4 or 5 months now. They live in Nevada. This is their first opportunity to see me in front of an audience, so I'm very, very happy that they were able to make it. We have a leadership crisis and a moral crisis in this country, and it's led to an economic crisis. And I have the courage, the will, the strength, the moral and principle-centered foundation, and the leadership depth and ability to go to Washington, to restore our freedoms, to return us to the free market enterprise, to reduce and eliminate our debt, and most importantly, to return to following our Constitution. Now, so tonight, I think I've got 5 minutes, right? So I think I'd like to talk about one platform issue that ties into my leadership experience, and then tell you a little bit about who I am, which gets into my moral and principle-centered foundation. So the issue I'd like to discuss tonight is education reform. And to give you a little bit of my background, my first job out of college was supervising 50 UAW workers in a General Motors factory on the midnight shift. And I was 22 years old. And I've been deep in leadership ever since. And through that experience, I had a front row seat in watching the UAW bankrupt General Motors. And it wasn't the workers. The workers want to come to work every day and do a good job. It's the corruption at the top and the rules that are in place that protect the very worst of the worst people that handcuff management that eventually bankrupted General Motors. Now we all have a front row seat in watching the teachers' union and the rules on our teachers and the administrative bureaucracy handcuffing our principals. We have a front row seat in watching our next generation get bankrupted. And that's tragic. And the answer is to restore freedom and free market to education. If we do that, if we allow parents to get involved, to send them to a better school, to have vouchers, to have school choice, to have homeschooling, introduce freedom and free enterprise, we will raise the bar and we will excel in our next generation. So those principles have to be implemented. Now moving on to my character, I firmly believe in the morals of personal accountability and personal responsibility. And the best example of that in my life is that when in 2004, when I was out of work, living paycheck to paycheck, 2 babies at home, a wife to support, a mortgage to pay, a place that many Californians find themselves today, I did what I always do. I looked in the mirror and took responsibility for the place that I was in. I found a good job, a good opportunity. A year and a half later, a small business. A year and a half later, I bought the company that I worked for. And since then, I've grown it to 100 jobs throughout California. We service hospitals. We help keep the air clean and keep it up to life safety code. So I know how jobs are created. And it isn't government who creates jobs. It's you and I and our friends and neighbors and your sons and daughters. We need leaders in Washington that return the culture and the mindset back to where private sector jobs are created. I believe that people can and will rise to the occasion if given the opportunity, because I've led it and I've seen it my entire career, entire life. I also believe that people can and will live off the government system if given the opportunity. And that disables people. It robs them of their pride and their dignity. And we just can't continue to do that. I believe in the American spirit. And my version of the American spirit is you and I taking care of our family and our friends and our neighbors and our communities. That's why it's so good to see my parents here today. We take care of each other. We don't need the government interfering in that. When the government interferes, it destroys that American spirit. I want to talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what our forefathers intended for us. Life from conception through natural death. Liberty. Every time the government talks about protecting us, that's code for taking away our freedoms. It's no clearer than in the Second Amendment, and it applies across all of our lives. But in the Second Amendment, right, the right to bear arms, is there anything unclear about that? No, I say let's lock up the 0.5% or less of us that are criminals, but don't take my freedoms away because of the actions of a very few. The criminals are going to get guns anyway. Right? a business owner, as a person who creates jobs, I'm handcuffed with around 40,000 rules and regulations. Because there are a few bad companies out there, but don't penalize the 99.9% of us that are doing the right thing for our employees every day and for our customers every day. Restore our freedom. The pursuit of happiness. It was never intended to mean the government is responsible for your happiness, or we're going to put you on welfare so that you're happy, or we're going to write you a check so that you're happy. The intent was to give us all the opportunity to work hard, to succeed, and that's how you're happy. It's the path. It's not even reaching the goal. It's the path to the goal, and working hard that generates that happiness. So that's what we need to return to. 30 seconds? 30 seconds. So it's going to be a tough race. We need somebody. June 5th is an important date. There's 24 candidates. Top 2 go on to November. Dianne Feinstein will be number 1 on June 5th. We need the second place person to inspire, to drive, to be at the top of the ticket, to help all of the tickets in all of the races in California, congressional, state assembly, state senate, and so on. So please vote for me on June 5th. Spread the word. Taylor's in the back with literature and volunteer forms. Thank you all very much.